Hey, welcome in January? It doesn't seem possible, but yep, talking about January now. You know, it's that time of year that we make resolutions, and I think about the bees. It's like, and if the bees made resolutions, like I make a resolution, it's like lose weight. It's like, but hey, you know, every year we lose weight, you know, do a better job in OA treatments, things like that. The bees, if the bees were making a resolution, they'd be just one for the year: survive Dave. Seriously, they're going, you know what? If we could just keep them out of the hive until the end of February, we probably can make it this year. But anyway, it's January. I want to go through my list of things to do and some things to think about. Again, I'm going to say this every month. I'm in Southwest Illinois near St. Louis. So 100 miles difference from here can make a drastic difference in your beekeeping timeline. But basically, I'm kind of doing the same things that most things that people have to do. One thing I do want to talk about, though, that's really important about January is the fact that in January, about mid-January, is when the queen in this climate, and really pretty much about everywhere except in year-round beekeeping, the queen is starting to lay eggs and lay them pretty much like crazy. So you've got to be prepared for that. About mid to late month, she's going to start really ramping up because you start doing the math and you need foragers. You're talking 42 days from the end of January, so you need to be at the peak at the time that the flow starts. And around here, that's really about mid-March. So you need a lot of bees to make that happen. So the queen is starting to lay. You need to keep that in mind. And you're going to see that in a few minutes when I'm talking on the calendar about why that's important and what you need to do in feed. So what do we need to do this year? Well, let me take you over to the calendar and kind of show you what I have planned for the month. And let's just kind of over there. Before I get going, I got to show you this hack that editor Evan told me as I was in the last video showing you how to use this calendar. And of course, as you can see, you know, I wrote all this in advance. You don't need to see my attempt at penmanship. But as you can see, you know, I'm up here and I basically erased January. But what I have discovered is, or what the hack that he taught me is, you can use a permanent marker on these things. And you're like, but Dave, it's like, that's permanent marker. It's never going to come off. Well, here's the other side of this hack. This is really pretty cool. I'm just going to make this line right here. And it's permanent marker, so it's staying on, right? Not rubbing off. This is a dry erase marker. And it acts like a solvent. And it's gone. How cool is that? So I don't have the problem in erasing everything. So anyway, we'll take care of that later. But so here's what I want to do. I want to go through, as I said last month in December, I don't do anything on specific dates unless it is something that is specifically happening on a date. Otherwise, I put them in the month about the week I need it to happen. You can't trust the weather, so you need to be able to be flexible, but I want to have it in the order that I really need to get those things done. What's the first thing I need to do? I need to go out and, it says heat the hives, but it really, I know what it means. It means heft the hives. I need to go out and I need to lift the hives. I've got a video on hefting hives. It just kind of gives you the basics if you want to see how that's done. But I need to go to hives. Why do I need to do that? I want to find out if there are any that are like, oh my God, this hive's in trouble. I don't care what the temperature is, I got to get feed on them. Last I lifted, which was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was in good shape. And I was feeding up until Thanksgiving. So those hives are pretty full right now. And we've had really cold weather. Condensing hives, bees don't eat as much food. But still, I want to get out and heft. I want to see what's going on. We've had a warm spell. They may be eating more. We're going to check. So I want to heft hives. I'm going to do that in the next few days. I need to also do my final OA treatment. And we had some really warm weather. I wanted to do it this week, right around Christmas. But we had really warm weather and the bees were flying like crazy. I don't like to do OA treatments when bees are flying because you've got whole bunches of bees out of the hive. You run the chance of those bees having mites on them and bringing them back. So I like to do OA treatments somewhere in the upper 40s, maybe low 50s, but not when they're flying. That way I get the whole cluster with the benefit of OA. So I need to do my final OA treatment of the year before the queen starts to lay at the end or middle of this month. Also, I need to do my candy boards. I've built my candy boards. I'm ready to make those happen, and I will be filling those probably maybe next week, early next week. It's a pretty quick process. There's not a lot to it, but I got to have those done, and I've got 25 to make, so I've really got to get moving on that pretty quick. Then on the 8th is NABI, North American Honeybee Expo. If you have had the opportunity to go to it, you know what an incredible experience it is. You're with 3,500 beekeepers from all over the world. That's more beaks in one place than most people should be comfortable with, but the amount of knowledge that you can pick up there and the great bargains you can pick up on equipment it makes it really worth the effort to go to, and it just really gets you fired up for the year. NABI is the 8th, 9th, and 10th of January in Louisville. So I'm going to make candy boards. I'm going to place the candy boards depending on how heavy or how much the results I get from the heft. I'm either going to do the candy boards before or right after NABI. But that gives me what I want to do. I also want to add, if you're putting them on a little bit later, I put a pollen patty, pollen substitute. I mix my own. I put that on top of the candy board so the bees will get into that just about the time they really need to be boosting up for the queen to lay, so that pollen substitute will get them motivated to build brood, which is what you want. From there, we're going to build frames. I replace usually 2, 3, 4 frames every year in all of my boxes to keep rotating through, so that basically you're keeping fresh frames. And when I'm saying rotating in my deep boxes, because you don't want to leave frames in a deep box for too long, too many years. They get really dark and black. A lot of that is because of the bees bringing stuff in. There's a school of thought, and I subscribe to it, that the bees bring in other toxins from the outside that gets into that wax. Is it enough to harm the bees? I don't know, but why take a chance? It's worth replacing those frames just on a systematic basis. And I also need to clean my queen excluders, and I want them very clean by the end of January, because the minute I see pollen coming in from the red maples, and if we get an early spring, that could be as early as this second week of February, I've got to be throwing those queen excluders and the first super boxes on, because when the flow is on, those bees fill up fast, and if I'm not on it, then I've got bees in the trees. So I've got to be on that right away. So I want my excluders clean. And in between there, I've got a little bit of breathing space. I'll probably build a lot more equipment that I don't need. I always like to have the inner covers, because I seem to, for whatever reason, break inner covers. I don't know why, but so for that reason, I'll build like probably 8 or 10 inner covers just to have them around. If I buy any equipment at NABI, get that put together. But I really want to get through the end of January ready to go, because then anything can happen here in February, and I'm not behind the 8 ball on it. So kind of, that's what we got. The other thing I like to do at the end of January, I like to listen to the hives. I like to walk around the hives and listen to them. And if you listen really hard, you can tell just what the bees are doing. That's nonsense, you can't. But I do go and put my ear up against the side of the hive only to hear the buzz. And as long as I can hear the buzz, then I'm feeling pretty good about it. But anyway, that's what we got for January. Can't believe that we're into the new year. As always, thanks for watching. Hit that like button because it's nice to be liked, and subscribe if you haven't. Really appreciate the subs coming in, and we're having a lot of fun doing this. So that's what I got. Happy beekeeping, and until next time, see you soon. Thanks.